All right, the time is now 7:07 PM. We're going to go ahead and get started. Let Mr. Albert finish getting hooked up via Zoom so we can get the ball rolling on this. So it's 7:07 o'clock, 7:07 PM, May 28th, 2024, the Montoursville Area School District Board of Directors work session. Ask that you all join me in saluting the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would also like to take a moment in lieu of what this past weekend was, to just take a moment of silence for those who paid the ultimate sacrifice over the years in order for us to be able to do what we are doing right now. Make our community better, free speech, vote, make decisions that impact the future. So just please bow your heads if you may. Moment of silence. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. One other thing to pass on, we did meet in an executive session prior to this meeting. That was to talk about school safety and security, things that we don't talk about in public. Just to get Mr. Myers got us all up to speed on what the district is doing in that case. All right, we'll move on to roll call. Mrs. Smith.
Mr. Albert, I believe is trying to get online. Mr. Badger.
Here.
Mr. Eisenhower.
Here.
Mr. Gardner might be online.
He was here and then he fell off.
Okay. Mr. Hosnick.
Here.
Miss McCoy. Here. Mrs. Meyer. Here. Mrs. Oberheim. Here. And Mr. Young.
Here. Very well, thank you. Moving on to recognitions and presentations. We have the Day of Remembrance essay winners with Mr. DeLong and Mr. Raver here with us tonight. Mr. Raver, Mr. DeLong, come on up.
I'm here. Mr. Taramina, Mr. Badger, members of the board, parents, proud parents, and citizens of Montoursville and the area around it. We are so proud to come here because this is what this is all about, recognizing students. We have had a contest for the past 7 years. Dave Jacobson is behind me. He's in charge. And we serve 11 counties in the north central part of the state, to the northern tier, through the coal region, Clinton County, 1/6 of the state. And something happens here in Montoursville. It happens in the middle school, it's happening in the high school, and these students deserve to be recognized. And so that's what we're going to do. Dave, do you have something?
Well, I want to congratulate the students on their awards. I also want to congratulate all the students who participated in the essay contest. There were amazing essays. It was hard to pick the winning essays, and there were many essays that I wish we could have given awards to that we didn't. So congratulations to the students. I hope you have a great end of the year and a great summer ahead. And I hope that you participate in future years as well. You can win multiple years. Just a quick overview of the essay contest. We have given out about $15,500 in awards. We've had about 750 essays submitted. As Ray said, we cover 11 counties in north central Pennsylvania. And I want to thank in particular the teachers for participating in this essay contest. It's a lot of work going over the subject. It's a difficult subject on the topic of the Holocaust. It's an emotional subject to teach. It's an emotional subject to learn about. And it's a lot of work reviewing essays and going over essays. So I want to thank the teachers for participating. So congratulations to all the students. And it's really a pleasure to hand out the awards. So thank you.
And to Dave's point, the teachers, it begins with the teachers. They bring the news to the students and the students write, the teachers look at them, they rewrite. They help them. It's an incredible thing. And, Mr. Raver is always here. He always has students here winning awards. Last year was 1, 2, and 3, again, across 11 counties. I think it's because he buys ice cream after.
Buys you ice cream.
And I don't want them to worry any bit more, so we'll call on the names, and would you please come forward? Dick, congratulations. Yep. Addison Harvey. We'll get there.
So I just go through everyone?
Absolutely. Griffin Grant,
The first one
Okay.
was the hardest.
Diane Neidig.
Dead ready.
Oh,
Oh.
Final grades not in yet. Cyrus Headings. Congratulations. Nadia Farinish. Wyatt Hamilton. Abel Cunningham. And Caden Kleinman. Students are walking home in some cases with a $500 check. In another case, maybe $250, another case, $200. And at the very worst, $100. That's not bad. So thank you for having us here tonight, and we hope to come here next year.
Yes.
absolutely. You're welcome back every year. Thank you. Where's your husband?
Daddy here.
Does she have a rep?
Do you have the kids here? Huh?
For the budget challenge? one?
Yeah, do you have the kids here?
Okay, right.
Is someone going to explain what?
The kids can do it. Hey, Doug can't hear anything. His chat's disabled. He can work that while I drive. I mean. We're good to go. All right. We also have the budget challenge and investing challenge. Those kids are here today. It would be Mrs. Patty Conford. We'll be talking about that, but I'm not sure. Do we have someone to kind of get up and speak on that a little bit first? To prepare. That's what I'd love to talk about. Come on up. Yeah, don't be scared. Come on.
So the stock game is a simulation of the stock market designed to help kids learn how to handle money that isn't fixed because stocks are based on temporary success of certain companies. It's in. Is that good? All right. Should I restart? All right. The stock game is a simulation designed to help kids learn how to handle money that isn't fixed because stocks are based on the temporary success of a certain company or stock. The game is in real time, which gives us a glimpse of what real life investors are doing on the daily. I started the game with 100,000 fake dollars and ended with over 120,000 fake dollars. I placed first in Lycoming County and in the top 200 out of thousands of students. I learned how to predict what stocks are worth investing in the first hour of market opening during while researching certain companies. That's all. So,
Nice work. Congratulations.
So, should I like say my name or something? All
Yeah.
right. I am Ben Barkauskas. The budget game is a simulation to give a glimpse of what kids experience when they'll have to manage their own money in college and beyond. It helps them learn how to manage a debit and credit balance, save a good amount of money, and still have a good quality of life. I got third place in, I believe, the county.
Correct.
And top 300 in the entire program. I learned that to balance larger expenses such as bills, you can put them on a credit card and pay it off after a paycheck to soften the blow of such a large expense. And it's better for keeping bills under control and building credit score. That's all I have.
All right.
The first student was Noah Chow. That is sponsored by Woodlands Bank in the area and a statewide organization, Brighter Financial Futures. So congratulations, guys.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Nice work. All right, before we move on to the public comment section of the agenda tonight, Mr. Hausnick, do you have something you'd like to pass on?
Yeah, at the last meeting. When we were talking about taxes. I said, get a part-time job. When I'm sitting here doing my committee notes and that, I have notes in front of me. So I can read through them fairly fluidly. I have my notes in here today. When I don't, sometimes I lose my focus, but I never had the intent to say, when I was talking about getting a part-time job, I meant myself. I was gonna get a part-time job. And, never with any of you. But I didn't realize it was misinterpreted or misspoken until Mrs. Burns spoke. I could make a statement, rectify it afterwards. Until I had seen Mr. Snell a few days later. And he told me, yeah, you could have made a statement, and I didn't realize that. So I want to give my apology. I would never say anything like that for the good people of this school district and this community. So I apologize. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hausnick. Okay, now moving on to the public comments portion of the agenda. This is for residents and taxpayers, comment on matters of concern, official action, or deliberation in front of the board. You get 3 unpaused minutes.
Catherine Burns, Muncie, I'm in Maturitsville School District. Sent you all emails, and Mr. Hausnick, thanks for apologizing. I hope you don't have to get a part-time job if a tax increase is implemented, but I do believe there will be many that have to. I have people's names that I'm not allowed to release right now that are behind on their property taxes 2 years, one of them at least. Not only mention the fact that their house is in disarray because they do not have the money to make the repairs, let alone pay the taxes. I understand your thinking. You're telling us the school's in the red. The community, over half, is going to be in the red, not only from a property tax increase, but the increases that you're seeing every day in utilities, gas, oil, food. They make a joke. I'm strong because I can carry $100 worth of groceries in my hand now. It's not a joke. It's a small bag now. This is what's happening. All we're asking is give us a year. Give us 1 year. Help the residents of your community. And it's not only homeowners. We've got people that I own 4 properties in the district. And every one of my tenants except one struggles to pay the rent. I'm going to have to pass that tax increase onto them because I'm barely making my mortgage insurance and taxes on those rental properties. It's a trickle and it's going to affect everyone. I want these kids to have the best of everything. God knows that they're kids. I want my kid to have the best of everything. My grandbaby taken away from the parents and money out of their pockets is not the answer. So I'm just asking you, who would get harmed more? The residents of the community that cannot pay their taxes now, or the children in the school district? Ask yourself that. Where's your conscience? That's all I'm asking. Please think about the people in the community. If you can afford it, God bless you. But the majority of the people cannot. Thank you.
Ron Snell, Lower Manor Road. I have two things I want to bring up. The first has to do with the therapy dog, the policy on the therapy dog. In the policy, it says about training and certification, the owner or handler must submit the Keystone Pet Enhanced Therapy Service Certification or its equivalent as determined by the superintendent. The certification must remain current at all times. The dog is present on district property. My question is, the dogs that are here now, dog or dogs that are here now, do they have the certification? The next thing is, the owner or handler must submit a copy of the current insurance policy that provides liability coverage for the therapy dog and owner and any handler while on school property. And that's in case something happens that dog would bite somebody, snip at somebody, or whatever, even on property damage. My question is, well, actually, it's a statement on the insurance. Just because the owner of the dog has insurance doesn't mean school district wouldn't get sued if something drastic happened to one of their kids. Just because that handler or dog owner has the insurance doesn't mean a lawyer is going to stop there. The next thing, the next thing I have is there's a dog currently in the district administration office. I'm curious to know if that dog has a certification. And the reason why I ask is because that dog has snipped at people. Now, that's not what therapy dogs are supposed to do. And in my opinion, and you can take it for what it's worth, there is need for therapy dog for some students, like special needs students. I'm sure therapy dogs help special needs students. But in my opinion, the person that has the therapy dog shouldn't be in a district administration office. It should be counselors that counsel those kids, that help those kids through. Those are the ones, if we're going to have therapy dogs, that should have the therapy dogs. And the other subject I want to bring up is the board member that.
That's your 3 minutes.
Okay.
You can see in the.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Richard Hauser, Loyal Sock Township, but I own property here on North Washington Street in the borough. On this tax situation again, I really want to kind of undergird what Ms. Burns just said here a bit ago regarding the taxes. It never seems to get the point made that people don't have an unlimited, we can't appeal to somebody to get more money. I mean, if we need something more, we can't go knocking on somebody's door and go get it, unlike the borough and the taxing authorities, et cetera. And I take umbrage with the fact that in many cases, and I don't know what the necessity of this particular tranche of tax increases proposed is. I'm sure it's a spade of different things, but I think based on the fact that we're enduring overall cumulatively about 19% inflation since our Grand High Exalted Mystic ruler there at the White House has been in, and everybody's money spends less and gets less for its expenditure than it did even 3.5, 4 years ago. And there is a hardship for people to make up these tax indentures that they're being hammered with on a fairly frequent basis. I mean, there's new school here now for the high school. We got that built. And there was opposition to that, but of course it went through naturally. But everything seems to come to the districts, in any district, not just this one, but it's a situation where eventually the money is not going to be there. People aren't going to be able to make these payments. But it's a problem really with the whole structure of the thing. Because now you've got unionized situations with the teaching staff, et cetera, which again is dedicated to the proposition of extracting as much money as it can. I was on a school board in Williamsport years ago, and then I'm sure the calculations are about the same. 80% went to your employment, and with the other 20%, you had to buy everything else. You had to do all your capital improvements, you had to do the buildings, you had to do everything. And again, I feel that it's too much. She says, okay, let's go wait a year. That's fine. I mean, if that's what it has to be, but it cannot continue because the people don't have unlimited resources to continue to pay this stuff. And it's a little upsetting to me, I think, with some of the recent additions to the board, that some of them have actually gone ahead saying, yeah, we're interested in going ahead and passing a tax increase right out of the gate. I think that's problematic. And I just have to speak my piece on this. Everybody up here and everybody in government has to understand, we're not a crop in the field that you go out and harvest whenever you want to. We work, we have to do things, we have to pay everything, and we don't have unlimited source of income to go look for things, to get more money in. And that situation seems to be lost on the management of a lot of these school districts and in government in general. It just says, you know, whatever it is, pay it. Reminds me of a line out of Goodfellas. Hey, you don't have the money, you know, and I don't want to say it was an expletive. F you, get it. And that's the story. And that's the
Mr. Hauser,
impression that I get.
That's your 3 minutes.
Thank you.
You're welcome to come back up the second time around. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Scott Metzger. First of all, I want to thank you for what you do. I sit in a chair like you do every day and make these tough decisions. It's not easy. And to actually sit in those seats, the public doesn't understand. What I do understand is listening to our constituents and hearing what they're experiencing. And, you know, we're facing a reassessment, and I voted against that. I'm not here tonight as a commissioner. I'm here tonight as a resident. I'm here tonight as a property owner in the borough. And I know the cost of it. The reason why I voted against reassessment is the timing. We needed the reassessment. I understand that. It's been 20 years. And unfortunately, the state passes a lot of the cost off to us. You see that. You have a lot of unmandated state costs that you have to come up with monies. We had the same situation. But at the time I said, the timing's not right. People are hurting beyond you can comprehend. When you go to the food banks, when you go to the grocery stores, and you see the cost of everything, it's $12,500 more to live now and maintain the same cost of living than it was 3 years ago, just to maintain your bills. $12,500 more. That's a lot of money, especially to people that are on fixed incomes that can't pay this. So I ask you to go back and revisit your budget. We do it every day and look to see where you can cut. Teachers do phenomenal jobs. I'm not criticizing teachers. They do a wonderful job. They do a wonderful job in our community. But we have to look at the state situation. The administrative cost for 500 and some school districts in the state of Pennsylvania is $1 billion. $1 billion. We can't do that as taxpayers. No one can sustain that. And then pensions on top of that. The state pension system will fail. It will fail eventually. It's down in the dumps right now. They can't maintain what they're doing. So I ask you, please go back, revisit what you can. Timing is all about everything in life. And right now is not the time for any kind of substantial tax increase in our district. People cannot afford it. I drove around the community today. They're starting to see some homes go up for sale that weren't going up. And I know who lives in those homes. They're seniors. They're not even waiting. They're putting their house up now. We can't have that. Somebody shouldn't have to be able to work their entire life for their house to have to be forced out of it. So I appreciate what you do. It's a tough decision. I feel your pain, but please look at what you can do. Thank you.
Paul Rinker, 1102 Chestnut Street. Well, Mr. Hausnick, I'm glad to hear you say what you said. That you were talking about you getting a part-time job. Imagine for a minute you couldn't. There are people in this borough who, for one reason or another, cannot work. And they're on a fixed income. And as Scott just said, the cost of living has gone crazy in the last few years. And they can't afford this tax increase. Now, this school district does pretty well for itself. We have all kinds of programs, and we probably have all kinds of waste, which we should be looking at. You've heard the saying, a penny saved is a penny earned. Maybe that's how we should be earning our pennies these days. We should be looking where we can save. And that's going to take work, hard work. But that's what you signed up for, and that's what you pay your administrators for. It's time to start doing the hard work, rather than just saying, we can take more money from these people. They don't have it. Now, I know you've talked to some who do. Good for them. And if they want to give it to you, great. Tell them they can give as much as they want. But there are people who can't do it, and you shouldn't ask them to do it. And I ask you to take another look at that and hold the line. Thank you.
All right, seeing no one else in the room, we'll go to Zoom here. If any of the attendees would like to make a comment, please raise your hand. All right, seeing none. And we will move on to the budget presentation for the evening before we move on to the general agenda items. Yes, sir. Yep.
All right, just some updates that we have on the budget here. I'll go through them rather quickly. Next slide. Okay. So in here, we received the bill totals, which put an increase in the $7,000 for our current real estate taxes. That was the only change in the local revenues. Next slide. And this is the next slide of local, so next slide onto the state. State revenues, I did a separate projection with an overview with the 3% on a future slide, so I didn't forget about that. I just left this the same. And I think I laid it out in a way that you could really look at it in a future slide. So leaving that with that, I'll share with you the changes are in the state FICA and the other income from the state. The changes there is because I have added the agenda items that are on the agenda this evening. I updated the wages and benefit plans with those so that those are already represented in this update for you. Next slide. Again, we are still waiting on the budget to be passed so that we have that information. Next slide is the federal revenues. There is no changes there. Next slide, you'll see here in the expenditures, the 100s, we have an increase of $68,186. That is due to the changes from the agenda items this evening on step level in which people are hired at. We typically budget for first step, and we have hired some out of steps higher than that. But you'll also see the employee benefits, the 200 with a decrease of 34,820. And when we budget those, we do budget them at the most expensive plan to, you know, be prepared for that. And we have the information on what plans, but some of them would be on. So I made those adjustments as well. So all of the agenda items are represented here in the budget. Next slide shows that we're still waiting on property insurance. I should have that sometime next week. The millage summary here, this is the same slide that you have seen in the past with the updated revenues and expenditures for no tax increase, a 0.56 tax increase, and I was asked to also have the 0.75 increase. So I left that all here. You can see the impact on the median properties. You can see where the budget, taking the budgetary reserve out, where that puts us in regards to a balanced budget. And that's all information you've seen in the past. So next slide. This is the new slide here that I thought we would be most interested in. And here I presented this with no increase, 0.56 increase, and a 0.75 increase. So I represented the state funding, which is no change in revenue, and where that takes us when we take out the budgetary reserve. I then did a 3% state increase in funding and showed that the revenue increase for a 3% state increase is $248,548. And where that takes us when we take out the budgetary reserve. And when I say take out the budgetary reserve is being, you know, that we don't have any extraordinary causes that we have to use anything from the budgetary reserve. It's for an emergency. So also last time, the last meeting, and with the last agenda that we put out for the board meeting, I provided a 5-year plan with the adequacy investment. And so I thought that would be good to show here where that takes us if we get the full adequacy investment and the change in revenue there. So that's a good picture of where we could be, but it's not guaranteed at that point. And that's why I provided it to you at the last meeting so that you would have that information and be able to look at it. Again, these are taking out the budgetary reserve. So any questions on this slide? This is something new that you haven't seen before, and I think it was the information that you were looking for, and I just wanted to group it together so you could look at it all together.
So the budgetary reserves is called 700,000. So this is showing it without that in there.
Yes.
Even with the 3% increase in the state. So
yes,
regardless, it's still negative. across, okay. Even if we don't have, if we have the budgetary reserves, it's just a bigger number.
Correct. But your budgetary reserve is there as a safety net.
No, yeah, I like your statement.
Any other questions before we move on? Okay. Next slides are just the same information that, I provided, but I wanted you to have so that you could think about, you have that information, you always have that information there. So this is the assessment billing on, April 12th. And the next one is the cyber charter school costs. The following one is the special education costs. The following one after that is the future borrowing cost. I will remind you, this is to borrow $10 million. And we need, 0.14 mils to cover that borrowing, over the next 4 years to get that. The following one is the millage rate history. Following after that is the fund balance. And the last slide here is the 5-year budget estimate on May 14th. So now I'm asking for direction on what you would like to see in the final budget, so I can get that prepared for you.
Before we discuss, I have a question. Have we seen any movement on the House bill for the cyber school things? Nothing yet.
No, the only discussion that's come out of that is it may go now from 8 to 10.
Right.
It's gone the wrong
I was just gonna say that.
direction. That'll get wrapped up in budget negotiations, I'm sure.
State revenue projections that you talked about, is that maybe I didn't hear it. You calculated 3%.
It's Ms. McCoy or, I did, or, okay, yep, Mrs. Overheim, asked for it to be shown at 3% and what it would look like.
And it could be more, is that correct?
That is the,
That's-
what I provided you at the last meeting was the inadequacy investment.
Yeah.
And, that's what I used in the 5-year plan at the last meeting. So it could be as much as that. And that's why I provided you with that slide also here so that you could see that, because it can be better. And it can, we don't know. There'll be unknowns.
So I haven't been comfortable with the 0.75 and starting on the high end. And I'm not, as much as costs are going up for everyone, they're going up for the district. So I don't want to live in a bubble where, it's not happening to the district as well, where all the costs are up. But the 0.75, I think, it blew people's minds, and rightfully so. So I just would maybe like some discussion on definitely something lower than 0.75 and what anyone else's thoughts are on those things.
Yeah, and that's why we had presented the 0.56 from the beginning. I think that was some board thinking on seeing what a 0.75 would
And
do.
now that she's figured in the 3%, which could be more, how much more
So if you
and
add
we
in,
now come down.
if you add in the budgetary reserve to that 0.75 to the 551, you're still at 1.2, rough math, 1.2 million down and that we don't have. And if you look from 2020 to 2024, taxes have only been raised 0.3. They've been raised one time in the last 4 years. I just want to put that on record. I know it's always been up there on screen. And like Mr. Hauser said, there's been an 18% overall increase in inflation. And it's only been increased 0.3 with a high school debt on that. And transportation, everything else gone up. I don't think there's been a lot of programs added to this school during that time. I think a lot of things have been funded by grants. And I just want to point out, we also have one of the lowest tax rates in the county, which I think is great. I'm not for a huge tax increase, but I also don't want to see this district to go deficiently in the hole. We have to do something about the elementary school buildings, period. I mean, that's been sat on for quite a few years now. And a decision has to be made on that. It didn't get less expensive to do it. It was less expensive 4 or 5 years ago, but decisions weren't made. So we're at that point that if we don't do something, and to your point, maybe it's the 0.56, but at some point, we're also gonna have to add in that 0.14. So that's sort of where I was like, okay, let's go on the high range and find something in between that, because that 0.14 of 10 million, which is still gonna cost more because prices aren't getting less. They're getting more. And the longer we go on, we don't know what interest rates are gonna do. That was the whole topic of conversation 3 years ago. They may go back down. They may not. They're talking about raising them again. So I just don't want to see the district as a whole be in a situation where we're bankrupting ourselves.
Well, taking all that into consideration, I mean, can we start at a lower number than 0.75 or 0.65? Because, I mean, they're saying, please wait, please wait
But
a
they have
year.
it's been one time in the last 4 years. that
But we
there's
don't
been an
have to bang
increase.
it all out in 1 year. And if they're saying this is the worst year, why do it on the worst year? No year is gonna be great.
No, it's not. And
But I'm not at 0.75, I'm not at 0.6.
no, and I get that, and we went to the highest to see, just because you can't go up, you can only go down, right? So we did 0.75. So there's somewhere in there, but to just, I mean, it's been a 0.3 millage increase over the last 4 years. That's it.
And the program that we've added is the armed security personnel, which is yet to be paid for by any mill. We've made it work. The budget is up 5.9%. I think a lot of hard work has been put into it.
I agree.
When you look at what's going on around the country, districts are going to the index because of how they mismanage their ESSER funds. I think the work has been put in. If you ask us to go back and put, I don't want to see 0.75 either. We didn't come with that. That's not what we need. We're in this place where we need to balance what the kids in the district need and what those in the community need. And yeah, nobody wants to raise taxes. I hate making any kind of recommendation, but 0.56 is where we fell in our original presentations as a way to pay for that security and start building capacity to do something with the elementary schools. And that something is only 10 million. It's a lot of money, but it's $10 million, and that's not going to get you very far with 2 schools. It's not going to get you very far with 1 school. So we're going to be turning to grants again to fund some of the programs that we need to have done here, much like we've done with STEM education.
Of all times in American history, this is probably the worst time to raise taxes for anybody. When I ran for election, I went to dozens of houses in Region 1, and I saw the condition of how people are living their lives. People are living in squalor. They're living in poverty. They're getting a second job. They're working 2 jobs. They're homeschooling, so they can't work during the day. A million situations, people can't pay their meds. People are suicidal, okay? I talked to state police today to get some stats, okay? Suicide rate skyrocketed right after COVID-19 because it shut down. That can happen again. Currently, they have a significant, I think it was skyrocket was a word, of mental health calls they go to. And for you people who don't know what mental health calls are, those are people wanting to commit suicide or they're attempting to do it. Okay, those have skyrocketed recently. That's a lot of stress going on out there in the public. Okay, I ran to support these kids and do everything we can to get them everything that's going to help them in life, but I also ran to protect the taxpayers. Yeah, we need to do a tax rate at some point, and yeah, they can keep getting kicked down the line, but all I can say is I've been here 6 months and the tracks on my shoes are not on that can. So. Yeah, that's it.
I've got Mr. Albert raised his hand on Zoom here, so we're gonna see if we can get him to join us. All right, Mr. Albert, if there, you can unmute yourself and go ahead and talk. We'll see if we can hear you.
How's that?
Yeah, we got you.
There you go.
Just as soon as Sebastian
You
got
saw
it.
you walk in this way.
He's like, oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, Sebastian, he doesn't like me very much.
I like you.
I know, but it's tough. So, well, for me, you know, I look at the comments that have been made, and you know, anyone who thinks that the district and the board members and the administrators have not done what they can do over the last 6-7 years, and listening to the conversation of we just can't do it this year. We've done our due diligence. Previous board did their due diligence and not raising taxes. A little too much. And now you're in a position where to hear people say that one more year, no, it isn't one more year. You cannot dispute that the board has not done their due diligence in trying to keep taxes down. You all sit on the board like me. You all know what you're up against. And I'm not one that wants to raise taxes by no means, but you as board members sit on the board and you know what you need to do. You know what's in store. You got building projects, you've got renovations, you've got the possibility of closing down, you know, the valley. You know, we have many decisions to make, but if you don't do something as an increase and focus on the things for the community with these kids, in my opinion, it has nothing to do with the homeowner. It has everything to do with these kids, and the majority of these parents in this community would definitely not be squawking over a 5 or a 0.56 increase. I've said it before, 3% increase in 10 years. You are the second lowest in tax in the bordering districts. And yet here we are thinking about taking another year off. I can't wrap my head around that idea of doing that. It has nothing to do with me, not being conscientious of what I'm doing. I'm just living in reality. And as I sit here, I saw many people get up and leave the room after they spoke. And to me, getting up, leaving the room after such an important meeting about what we're doing with our taxes, and they can get up and leave and not hear us speak or understand what we're doing. So, for me, I just feel that it is a wrong move not to at least go to 5.56. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Albert. I'll put in my 2 cents. I think we're kind of in the position that we're in right now because we didn't raise taxes much over the past 4 years, and it was not the time to raise taxes in those timeframes. Unfortunately, it's not now, and it's not going to be next year or the year after. Even with a potential change of leadership in the country starting next year, that impacts. We're not going to feel that impact for another 2 or 3 years, unfortunately. So this tax issue is a double-edged sword. We raise taxes and potentially we lose folks from the community that can't afford to live here anymore. Or we don't raise taxes and we can't give the kids what they need, so we lose the children in the district. What we really need are children to come back to the district. So I don't know if you've listened to the budget presentations over the past few months, the big ticket item there is how much that we have to spend for those kids that are in cyber school. It's $1 million a year that we're losing because those children decide to go to cyber school. So how do we combat that? We give them a reason to come back. So we've started exploring that option. If you've been to meetings in the past we're starting up our own cyber program here to get kids back in. So maybe they'll do their math and English and stuff cyber, but then come back brick and mortar for the AG classes or whatever other kind of programs that we offer. That gets those kids back in the district and saves us a whole ton of money. But we can't do that currently with the budget that we have. So we have to try to find a way to create some funds so we can get those kids back so we can save money and earn more money back in the long run. I'd love to go no taxes raises ever again, but that's certainly not an option. I don't want to go 0.75. I think it's exponentially high, but we did want to see what the impact would be on the budget if we did that. But if we go anything below, in my opinion, 0.56, we're going to stay at 5.6 for the next 4 or 5 years. There's not going to be a big break. So I feel like we have to do something now in order to offset what the next few years are going to look like. It's like being in Vegas. You never know what the odds are when you raise taxes or lower taxes, what the state's going to do, what the federal government's going to do. The state's been mulling over their own budget for, I don't even know how long now. We can't afford to do that, unfortunately. Again, I don't want to see taxes raised. I certainly don't want to see a huge tax, but I do know that we've got to do everything that we can to bring those kids back into the school district because that's our biggest loss right there. If we can get them back, then we'll be in a much better position. Just my opinion. Mr. Gardner's got his hand raised now, so we'll allow him an opportunity to talk. Mr. Gardner, you're on. You have to unmute yourself.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I do apologize. I'm not there tonight. I'm currently at work. Mr. Alberts, a lot of the stuff you said was kind of some of the things I was going to cover and appreciate that. I just do totally understand that, the 0.75 was high, but like everybody has said, we were looking at that coming in as the budget, see how the effect was going to be. There's a lot of things as far as the information coming back from the schools that we need to look at, I think, as a whole. And also, I would like to see a zero balance budget just out of curiosity, see where that's at, where that would take us. I don't know if there's one done up or not. My internet's been kind of in and out tonight at work. But I am a little bit confused about, we do get people that come in and they talk during the meetings and then they leave. They're not there for the budget talks. I'm not condoning anybody for leaving, and that's entirely up to them, but I think people need a little bit more understanding with what we're going through instead of hearing from maybe one or two people that possibly stay at the meetings, or maybe people that are on Zoom listening to the meetings. Because information is knowledge. The more knowledge you have about a topic that we're dealing with, the more information you're going to have to make a decision on how you feel about things. But I think going forward, I think we definitely need to look at, the amount of information we have to look at as a school board for the schools and everything else before we make a decision. Like I totally agree that the 0.75 is high, but that was just put into play to find out where we would be at. That's all I really got. I hope you guys all have a good night.
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Doug. You too.
I wasn't gonna comment on that either, but it is kind of disappointing to see so many people come in. They're so passionate about protecting the community, but then, we listen to what they have to say, but then they don't stick around to hear our rationale and thoughts on it, which is a little frustrating. But I understand. I don't want to sit around in meetings a lot of times either, so.
Well, some of those people too come here pretty often, so they got to skirt out or ease early because they have an appointment. I can understand that. And they can look on it, they can look it up later on YouTube and watch it. That's what I do.
And
Yeah, that's
I
case.
understand that too, but I was gonna say Mr. Snell will know this, and anybody who's been a member of the board knows if I come and speak, I stay for the entirety of the meeting, especially if they're gonna be that passionate about something and call for no taxes and write letters. I sort of expect to sit and at least listen to the budget conversation. I'm not saying the whole meeting, although I usually would stay till the whole meeting and end up talking on it.
Well, just speaking for the people that did leave, they're very passionate people and they put a lot of time in and into our community in other ways, so I want to be a voice of, yes,
And
they
I
did
understand
leave,
that. I
but yes,
just would
they,
appreciate if they're coming and having a
Hours.
conversation. and
I mean,
listening to
hours
the actual
of
budget
time into our
conversation.
community.
And I appreciate both stands. Just all say about some of the people there belong to the group. They represent a lot of good citizens in this county and a lot of good citizens in the Torresville School this year. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other one thing I did want to say, because I was thinking about when Dan said it, because I think a lot of the conversations has been about like kids eating and whatnot. And there's been, I mean, I know I've heard food out of the mouths of babes. And one thing I want to point out is our cafeteria fund and what a great job the food service has done, and that we've had the ability to offer the free lunches as a district to those kids. So one of the things when I hear about cost of food and everything like that is that's one thing I want to point out, that there are good things when you are looking at the district being fiscally responsible. Hats off to them, because that doesn't take money out of us, and hats off to you two for really working and having that brought in. I don't think anyone wants to raise taxes. I just, but I think we're just in a position that, we talk about inflation and we talk about it's not the year, it's not the year, it's not the year. And I've sat through all 4 years of those budget discussions where it's not the year. And I agree. But at the same token, if you look at these numbers, just even from a rational, perspective, and look at what's coming down the pike, and it's coming, it has to. It's one of the things that I think we all knew getting into this, that decision has to be made. So we either incrementally buffer people into it, or you're gonna have one big fat one. And so there's no way around not raising taxes. Now, I'm not saying it has to be the 7.75, but I just wanted that to be on the table to see what that looks like. And I think Doug and Dan said that too. But transportation costs have gone up. Our heating bills have gone up.
Get that. Guess what
Everything has
hasn't
gone up.
though? Salaries, pensions. A lot of things are going up, and these people aren't getting paid more. I'm not getting paid more. My pension doesn't go up, and I don't care about
I don't
myself,
have-
but I'm an example. There's a lot of examples out there that people aren't getting paid. They can't spend as much. Inflation's going up, but their money's coming in isn't going up. Like, we need to think about that. Yes, we've gone so many years without raising it. Sorry for the past board that you kicked the can so far down the road. I've been here 6 months. Okay, I'm getting to learn how everything's moving here. What I've learned so far is we prove everything that comes at us. And then we try to fix it into the budget. And I think that's why we're having these issues.
But I don't think we've approved as a board anything that a lot that has been paid for by a grant. Or, I mean, from security, I think the only thing that we have in here right now would be security again, right? That had previously been paid for under a grant that we're even trying to get a grant for now, right? Right? So, I mean, I think there's one thing, and that's the armed security guards, that's in this budget that has it, but everything else that when you talk about all the budget and stuff, I watch those checks like a hawk, in all honesty. And the only thing that we've approved that is not covered, I think, is security right now. And I think almost everyone in this room would agree that that is very important, and they've done a wonderful job. They really have. But beside that, we haven't spent any money. The volleyball program didn't cost us anything because the holes that are going in the court are covered under the cost of the court on the athletic department. That wrestling mats that are costing $90,000 were already built into it. We didn't spend that money. So we, as a board, haven't added anything except for the addition pretty much of armed security. So everything else in here is just an inflationary cost. If you look at transportation contracts, if you look at PP&L, if you look at heating, if you look at the last 4 years, think how much more it costs you. It's cost that district exponentially more. And we have 2 buildings that are not energy efficient in any way, shape, or form that need rehab because they aren't energy efficient. And that's cost us a lot more. And there's only been a 0.3 increase in taxes. So I am not being cold-hearted. In all honesty, am not. And I have parents that are senior citizens who happen to live in Williamsport School District, which is exorbitantly large tax bill. I mean, their property taxes alone.
Scott,
I'm
that
not
tax
being-
assessment, is that going to happen? Like you voted against
It's
it,
over
but
the
that
next
moves
3
forward, right?
But
And that's gonna be in everybody's head.
it's over.
Won't happen one day or commissioners not want to reopen it. So half the home collected by 27, somewhere in that time frame.
Okay.
A lot to be educated, people have to, it's gonna affect some people drastically, other people it's not.
Yeah.
But it's a reality.
And it's not the point. So, because I just understood that
Like a
we
3
just
years
spent
appraisal.
$3.4 million on Tyler Technologies, I believe it is, to go around and do the appraisal. And it'll start in September 2024. Because I looked at that because that
Yeah.
just raised on my mind, because I know
We're
taxes.
thinking alike,
Listen,
from listening to you. so
not much gets passed. right?
Sit next to each other.
Bring it a month.
Right, so then that's not until 2027,
Month or a
so.
ball game.
He's right.
So 2027, we got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So Brad, I want to, I respect the heck out of you, especially what you did and what you earned your pension for, or whatever. But I think I can speak for Mr. Young here and probably Mr. Albert too, but we did kick the can down the road, but we proudly kicked the can down the road because we knew that was what's best for the community. But we also knew that there was going to be a time that we were going to have to pick the can up and run with it. You know what I mean? And unfortunately,
No, I
I
understand.
feel like that's that
It's
time.
more frustrating for you guys because you've been here and.
Yeah, and we were hoping that by giving them those breaks and giving them that one more year, that we were gonna see a change in the state or in federal levels, but that has not happened, unfortunately. It's frustrating, absolutely frustrating. And now the county as well, we have that coming along with us over the next couple of years that we have to be mindful of.
And if Mr. Snell's legislation would have gone through, that would have helped a lot, but it did not. Okay.
Staying in.
So we heard a lot about the trickle down effect. We heard about costs going up, gas, fuel, electric. Where does that all stem from and how do we get past it? Well, the trickle down effect, it seems like we're on the bottom and we're taking all the trickle. And now it's time to pay. And without the building aspects that we have in front of us, I could see maybe no tax increase. But we have 2 large building, possible building issues that we have to address. Has to be addressed. It's a fact. We cannot survive much longer with the way we're going with the Valley and the other schools. So what do? Last year, we do no increase. We don't fund the security. We take it out of the reserve. Now, here we are. We knew it was gonna happen, okay? Knew it was gonna happen. Now, here we are.
What do we do? Well, the fact of the matter is, everything has gone up, okay? And it's not anybody in this room's fault. I don't want to do a tax increase, but the facts are in front of us. They're in front of us. It's a fact of life that everything is more expensive. We're paying more for everything, and I don't want to repeat what everyone else already said here, okay? But we're paying more for everything. Everyone is, and everybody feels it. As Mr. Metzger said, $12,800 more per family. Mr. Hauser, 19% inflation, okay? The trickle down effect. Where does that come from? We just can't pull it out of nowhere. It's impossible. So what do we have to do? We have to do something that's fiscally responsible that doesn't hurt our taxpayers down the line. So what do? We go slow, or we just disregard this year and then go crazy next year? Because that's what's gonna have to happen. It's a guarantee. There's no way around it. And like I said, I don't want to raise taxes. I hate paying taxes. Every year I hate paying taxes. It's the worst time of my life, April 15th, I hate that. But you know what? It's a fact of life. So here we are. How do we budget for it? How do we get ourselves in the best position going forward? And that's what we need to do. Get ourselves in the best position going forward. And a no tax increase is not the best position forward for this district.
You thought about closing the Woolsac Valley School. How many more classes do you have to put?
If you'd like to come up on the second public comment section and make your comments, you're absolutely welcome to do that. Right now, we're deliberating for us. This is our deliberation time. But if there'll be 3 minutes in the end, come on up and give us your thoughts.
Isn't that one of the things that, I can't remember their name right now, but.
Site Logic.
Yeah, is that a question that Site Logic is trying to answer for us?
They're gonna do all that.
How much savings would it be to keep it open, or, right?
Close to build add-on, yeah, and then they'll kind of come with a recommendation, so a semi-answer, because I think anyway, is that they'll come, from my understanding, with, okay, what cost savings do we get from closing the valley, right? They'll come with the recommendations, they'll also look at, okay, what's it gonna cost us to do the valley and to do later, and what's the impact on that too? So you'll have both of those, but they're gonna come with a recommendation. They already
And that's
came with
to
that
help us make,
preliminary, which I think is next board meeting, right then? Yeah.
that's not something like I personally wanted to pay for, because I don't like to pay for those extra things, but to be able to make an educated decision, that's information that I needed someone to put together.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to. Next board meeting.
So we have to give a recommendation moving forward, correct? Randy?
I would like to know what you want me
Yeah,
to
we
put
haven't-
together.
we haven't
We have to
forgotten.
vote on final.
Yeah.
text.
Because if we don't have 6 votes for something other than a freeze, we have to go back and make some, and I know the public has said the administrators will tell you doom and gloom if you don't raise taxes. The fact is, if you go 0, we're going to come back with recommendations to cut. We can't operate in a deficit. We're not gonna have the state come over and take over Montoursville Area School District. And at the same time, I'd also hate to see us dismantle something that's really good here in the district, and that's your schools. So we just need some direction. If it's going to be 0, because as I sit here and count votes, I don't know that we have 6. I'm not sure what we have 6 for.
We'd like to keep you on your
So if
toes.
we're at 0, we're going to have to come back, and that meeting's gonna be a long meeting. And you may have to have multiple meetings in June to get this settled
When
by
did
June
Can I ask
30th.
you a question, Mr. Chairman?
Mhm.
So when you say that you could come back and you could come back with cuts, if you had to pick one thing, because I mean, we all wanna hold on, you know what, just seriously though, we all
Can you
wanna hold on
prioritize
to everything
this?
in our pocket.
I'm telling, I'll come with something that's not funded. And I don't want to do that. Those guys have been,
I know you don't want to, but I
security.
mean, they don't
I
want to
would,
pay the
I would
taxes,
come to
so-
you with the cutting the armed security because we have not built the millage to support that.
And-
Much like my concern with volleyball, I don't know how we could take on the recurring cost. That would be the same with security.
But I like the public to hear, like, is that something that you would want to part with, knowing that that would be something that you would start with first?
That would be one of the first things.
So I want
And
to,
I've tried to stay neutral on the building. I would probably come with some recommendation for that, because you also have to look long-term. And how, if we're in this position and we don't want to increase taxes, how do you keep operating two elementaries with declining enrollment? So it wouldn't just be a look at this current budget year. You've got to look long-term.
Yes.
And,
5-year plan.
there would be some other recommendations besides just the immediate, which would really put me in a spot.
Well, thank you for
It's not
answering.
my decision
No, I do
ultimately.
appreciate that, but it, you know, we all want to hold on to everything.
Yeah.
I don't like to let go of anything, but, you know, it's just something to consider, and I wanted to hear what.
Yeah, Brandy just mentioned the curriculum director. It's not hired. Cut it. We're not gonna hire it. That would be another one. So we would go for the things that are, just we don't currently have and that aren't currently funded.
so I know that you're going to tell us the doom and gloom side of things if we try to go with a 0 or whatever, but I just want to point out that before I sat here, I sat where Miss Meyer is. And I remember vividly last year when we were requesting to see a budget with a 0 tax increase. Ms. Smith, like, almost, like, I don't know, I thought your head was gonna pop off. Because she could see, she's so well versed in this, she could see the impact moving forward. Even though we were trying to do what was best for the community here, she knew the impact that was gonna have. And so just, I know that they want to do the best as well, and they're very versed in this budget, so I do respect all of their thoughts and all of their opinions, and her shudders when we talk about lower rates and things like that. So, I don't know where I'm going with that, but I just wanted to talk, I just wanted to say.
Yeah. It's like, yeah.
It's not, I prepare the numbers. I'm the professional that can look through the numbers and tell you where the best practice is going to be and that. I do not work on the educational side, and a lot of the cuts and stuff would not be in my realm to make the decision where the cuts are made. It would be passed back onto the building principals and the superintendent. So, I just know, you know, when we have the conversations, and I know where our numbers are with student counts, and I know that we don't like high classroom sizes, and that information tells me, you know, and I kind of know based on our budget here, we have, let me just pull up some numbers real quick here. So personnel makes up 65.47% of our budget. So that's the easiest, like, that's where your savings is.
It's not even the easiest. When you look at that number up there, papers, pencils, books, tech, it's not gonna get you to those kind of numbers.
3% of your
It's,
budget.
it's personnel. You heard Mr. Hauser tonight say a lot of boards are at 80% with salaries and pennies. We've done a nice job controlling that here in the district. We're at 65. So to make up that kind of money, you're looking at people. And people in this particular district means programs.
Or school
They're tied
consolidation.
together, and class size. They're tied together.
A school consolidation. though, or at
Consolidation
least
eliminates teaching positions, which
through
gives
attrition,
you
but it's
the
still.
bigger numbers.
Right.
And there are districts shopping for teachers in other districts, and if you don't take care of your teachers, then they end up going other places, and that's not.
You've got some on the agenda tonight
I was
as
just gonna
example. of
say,
that.
we may or may not have one on the agenda.
Mr. Albert's got his, Mr. Albert has his hand raised again, so we'll go to him. You, Danny, go ahead and unmute yourself and, talk.
Am I unmuted?
You are now.
So, I just want to thank all the board for their insight and for Todd, shout out to you. You and I are the only ones left on this board, and I'm pretty adamant.
Yeah, Dave Younger. How are you?
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. Dave, I'm sorry, Dave.
He hasn't had
I
6.5
apologize.
years, but.
Okay, Dave, I apologize.
All right.
But for the three of us, being on the previous boards, it's one of these deals where, like, as I sit and I listen to everyone, and everything that keeps coming back into my mind is the fact that if we were the 7th or 8th highest taxed district in the area, we wouldn't even be having this conversation at all. And with that being said, about the programs, in 15, a lot of programs got cut. A lot of people, I think it was like 22 or 23 positions were lost during that time. And did it benefit the district? No. Did it hurt the district? You bet. It hurt the district very bad in so many ways. And I'm not going back that road, because what you lost in 15 with all those cuts, you lost a lot. You lost a lot of instruction. You lost a lot of control over what was happening in our buildings. And you've somehow managed, as the board and administration, to bring that back. And you're in a pretty good place right now. So, as far as cutting positions, we tried that and it didn't work, because you're right back to square one again, and you're hiring and you're putting people back that you need. A lot of people feel like you don't need this or don't need that. Well, you ask anybody in staff, you ask anybody in administration where you're at right now, if you're in a better place than you were in 15. And there isn't anybody that wouldn't say you weren't. And as far as that goes, you ask any parent or anybody out there, in the community with their kids in school, if they're in a better place than they were in 15, and they're going to say, yes, we are. So with that being said, I am not in favor at all of seeing, you just got them voting for the volleyball. You voted for the volleyball. Why wouldn't you vote for the volleyball? It is what it is. People have emailed me. People have told me, you got to cut sports. It's time to trim the fat. Well, you tried trimming the fat in 15, and what did that get you? It got us in a bad place. We're finally getting back to a point where our community and our people and our school is being recognized for things, and people are more interested in our district. And if you take a turn the other way, you're going to go right back where you were. So I just kudos to everybody. It's not a good place to be. It's not a great position to be in. But at the end of the day, I am on this board for one reason and one reason only, and that is to make sure that our facilities are taken care of, our taxpayers are being we're being fiscally responsible for them, and these students are the main reason we're here, to give them all the opportunities that we never had, or a lot of other people never had. And keep in mind that you can go anywhere into the inner cities or go anywhere else outside this district, and you're going to have lots of people tell you that my kid is not being educated. And that is not happening where we're at. These kids are getting, even though you got the cyber charter schools and you have the things that are going on there, you know, the bottom line is you don't know all the reasons that these kids are in a cyber charter. The kids that are coming to this district and are getting an education, they're being successful and they're being stewards of what they've been taught. And you cannot put a price tag on that. You just can't do it. So, but a lot to think about, but I'm 3.5 hours away working myself, you know, out of town. So sorry I couldn't be there tonight, and sorry for rambling on, but that's just what I wanted to talk from the heart. Thank you.
I appreciate you attending, Dan. Okay, so, I mean, we could continue on, but I think, the general consensus is the 0.75 is obnoxious and we're not interested in that at all. So I would probably suggest the 0.56 moving forward. That'd be my suggestion. Any thoughts on that? That's a good avenue to start that, yeah. A little high for me.
0.4 would be my end all be all.
I'm in 0.56. I actually go in between 0.56 and 0.7, but that's just.
I contemplated that too. but-
I'm more in a 0.64. But I can live with 0.56.
How's that, folks?
What's a 0.45?
Okay, we can't all just make up a number and see what happens. I'm messing with you. Everybody's gonna have a different one. 0.45325.
It's just not. This isn't the last year that this is gonna have to happen. And if this is, you know, I've taken into consideration what the public is saying, and this year's not the year. However, we do have to pay for the armed security. That's very important. I don't want to see us get into the red, but I don't anymore, but I also don't believe that this is the year to take us out of the red completely. So that's why I'm at 0.4.
I was gonna say 0.75 doesn't even take us out of the red. So that's 0.75 doesn't come close. We're still 1.3 in the hole at 0.75.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. So I just want to add that glimmer of hope in there. No, that's why I said I was gonna say 0.75 doesn't even take us out.
Okay.
So that's that. I just want to put that in there. We're still, because if you're looking at even with the 3% tax increase in funding with no reserve, which reserve is right around 700,000, we're
Right,
still
but
1.2.
I don't believe it's gonna be at 3. I think it'll be more than 3. It's on it. That's been the past practice, or that, you know, what's happened.
I know, but
So-
you have to budget for worst case scenario. So worst case scenario is
But
3.
I'm not gonna tax them on worst case scenario when I know that it doesn't
But
happen.
has it habitually been 3?
It's been more than 3.
What's the average of the last 5 years, you know, Brandy? Like where average are we at on that, do you know? I know I'm asking you right off, like, just pick that up.
Don't know off the top of my head. There was a flat year that we didn't get anything, so that brings down the average.
Yeah, see,
So, I can pull those.
well, that's, yeah, so,
Goodness.
sorry.
Nope, just continue talking. I'll continue listening and see if I can find it.
But it's just because I know even if like, okay, the 0.56 is like what's livable for everyone, but at some point we have to do something with the buildings. It's going to cost more than $10 million. So that 15 million that was quoted 5 years ago is now probably closer to 20. I know what's going on South Side right now. Like, I mean, there's, you know, and they're not even doing a whole complete, you know, redo. So it's gonna cost a lot more than 10 million. In our capital fund, we have some that can go, we can go for grants and stuff, but that's at 0.4 is 10 million. And then on top of, so if you go 0.45 right now, and you have to put in the point, that, so the 0.4, the 0.45 plus the 0.14 we would need for the 10 million, puts you at about a 0.56. Or so. So,
My fear is for anything under 5.6 this year, or over 5.6 that much next year.
that's what I guess.
My concern.
Very roundabout way of saying.
And then next year, our hands will be even more tied.
So what do we say to all the taxpayers who can't afford a dollar raise in taxes? Well, I'll loan you money. I mean, stuff's bad out there. Like, if you guys aren't experiencing it or seeing it, you got blinders on. Okay. Ron knows how Region 1 is. Like, I live in a nice home. I'm glad, but when I drive around these regions and stuff, I look how people are living and they are not living well. Okay, and I know we have to raise the taxes, but I don't know. Doesn't seem like anybody's putting any thought into it.
Yeah, put a ton of.
No, I don't mean that. That's me saying a job there. I didn't mean to say it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
I'm just,
Man,
I talked to,
I have to go to the fact that,
I
okay,
just said a
even
respect.
if we cut the armed security, even if we cut curriculum coordinator, we don't have to do that this year.
right.
You still, if I'm correct, you're still going to go, if you go no increase, more things than just that need cut. So what teachers are you getting rid of? So then we have 30 kids in a classroom. And so then those kids who really need the support to go on to be better adults are crammed into an elementary school. I get what you're saying. I honestly, truly do. And I like to think that by providing warm school lunches free to every single kid, not just that kid that applies for the free lunch program, that every kid, because then, because maybe their parents didn't fill out the paperwork or whatever, every kid's getting a hot meal. So you have 2 hot meals because we do free breakfast, we do free lunch, right? So maybe that has some impact in saving that person not having to pack that lunch, right?
Right.
Okay, so, but I don't want to raise taxes. I'm thankful that somehow during those 2021, 22, that you didn't have to raise taxes. But at this point, you can't just keep not raising taxes. I don't like to pay taxes. I hate paying taxes. Pay a lot of taxes. But you have to fund the district. I don't want to get rid of good school teachers. I don't want to get rid of school counselors and make those kind of cuts, because that just hurts your kids. And then all you end up with are non-productive members of society because you didn't have the foundation, because this is the most important part of their life. So then I don't know. I'm just sorry. I'm rambling. I'm getting
I
frustrated.
understand. You're getting frustrated. Enough said on it.
I guess it's frustrating because it's like, yes, I do think of what do you say to that person, but what do I also say to that kindergartner? What also do I say to that 5th grader? 6th grader, 9th grader. It's just, there's both sides of that story.
There are.
See, look, my rant helped. I'm trying to, I had it the other day and now I can't.
Yes, it is.
And they're all sitting back there going, why do we have to be after budget?
Sorry.
Sorry.
Is that what it is?
You will,
Shut up, Sharon.
Listen, I am.
We're all
perfectly
saying it.
fine where I'm at. Listen, I'm fine at a 0.56. We have to get an agreement around the horn, so you already have three of us at,
Yeah, you were.
I'd
the
like a
only one tonight,
0.64, yeah.
Tina, what are you at?
Okay, so.
I'd like to see a more significant effort in seeing where we can make cuts in the budget, not maybe eliminate the whole program, but maybe make cuts throughout. And just explore all of our options before we jump into doing a tax hike. Maybe we can pull volunteers from the community, retired residents who have lots to offer to come in and assist teachers in the classroom.
Make background checks and things that have to happen.
That'll cost them.
Take forever to accomplish.
A part-time job thing, you know what I mean, like, that's on one hand, but time is time, and, you know, they can put their time in somewhere else as well. If that's what they're choosing to do.
Are you ready for these?
Yeah.
Okay. So year ending 2020 is a 1.71% increase. Year ending 2021 was the year that was 0. The year ending 2022 was 2.47% increase. The year ending 2023 was 7.04. And the year 2024 projected is 5.55. Yeah,
But it went down, but it went 7 to 5, so
It-
you don't know
It just,
where
it
it's gonna come in.
fluctuates a lot, and our district is known, our funding has been very low from the state. So that's why our, inadequacy or adequacy investment is higher than a lot of the districts around us. So that is part of it.
Even if you get a 0.5 increase, in my quick math is not going, I mean, that maybe puts you at, for like a 5%, puts you at like a 300,000 compared to a 248 increase change. Right.
I'm sorry,
An
say that
increase,
again.
so,
If it's a 5% increase, it's going to be right around 400,000.
okay, so it's like $150 more thousand. But, yeah. So that's in a difference, if it comes in at 5%, it's 150 for
Yeah.
5,000 more, that doesn't make up for
Not like it- yeah.
$1.4 million. No. Yeah. So even if it does come in that high, it's not making that much. of a difference.
So Mr. Albert's got his hand raised again. So, Mr. Albert.
You would have thought I got used to hitting that mute button, but I didn't.
Put your shirt on.
So, again, as I sit here and listen, 4 years ago, I asked for a tax increase and got laughed at by a few people. And, it just blows my mind. I can't wrap my head around the idea that you would honestly think that you want to go this avenue or go that avenue. But nonetheless, 5.6 is where you need to be. I think it's compromising. It's not going to the max. And then what Brandy just said, it's pretty black and white. I don't think there's any gray areas that you're looking at here. And if you want to make it gray, then go ahead if it makes you feel better. But at the end of the day, you know what's going on, and anybody who has anything to do with the public and wants to be there to the meetings and wants to indulge in this and look into what's going on, you would see the same things that we're seeing. But most of them go to the podium and just talk. So, it has nothing to do, and I mean no disrespect by that, but it's frustrating for me. I sat here 6.5 years and I fought for the same things that I'm fighting for today and not getting them. And not because I want to see people lose their homes or I want to see people not do this or do that, but this district has done their due diligence and what they need to do. And they've made it work. Somehow they've found a way to make it work, and that's a great thing. And like I say, this has nothing to do at all with people losing homes or having hardships or not being able to go out to eat some nights. This has everything to do with what we as a board have to do just to to keep things moving forward and hopefully get ourselves back to a better place, and not in the red anymore. So I'm done. Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. Mr. Gardner has his hand raised again. All right, Doug, you should be good to unmute.
Yeah, can everybody hear me?
Yep.
You hear one more year on stuff, and I know we've talked about this already. With the current administration we have in there running this country right now, if you think there's going to be major changes on your cost of living and everything, even if we get a different administration in, it's going to take multiple years for it to even happen. We're looking at making changes for the school districts, for the kids, now, not 5 years down the road. I think a 5.56 with where originally the number was would be comparable for everybody to maybe feel happier about it. I know coming into running for the school board, there'd be difficult decisions to make. You're not always going to be able to stay good in the eye of the public on things you have to make decisions on. And as part of the responsibility and part of understanding, I think you have to be on a school board. It's never an easy decision sometimes. You might have haters, you might have people that like you. But I know the 5.56, I would stand behind that. It's unfortunate, but we do need to make changes and move forward. The school district is also getting hit with these price increases on things, not just the people in the public that have to pay the taxes. We all have to pay the taxes, but the school district's getting hit on costs on stuff too. And that's all I got.
Thanks, Doug.
We'll bring up 0.56 back and then you can vote it up or down.
Sounds good. All right. Moving on to the general agenda items. I would like to combine 3.1 through 3.4 tonight. If you want to take a look at those quick. Once you've taken a look at those, I'll take a motion to approve.
Oh, really? Wait.
And
We got a
Motion, okay, motion to approve. Second.
Second. All right, questions, comments?
The only question I had was on the one blast agreement with the last page, and it was like you had to select which one that the school is doing, and it wasn't selected. Let me look here. And I just had a question. Yeah, which one are we doing on that? Or are we doing that, sole source or fund owned employer? Okay, that was my only question. All right. I'm good.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right. Moving on to the personnel section. 4.1, approval of the following additions to the staff from the administrative staff. Susan Wise as assistant principal as a replacement for Mr. Christopher King. Jessica Donnelly, Kaylee Belts, Craig Weaver, and Emily Keener. Take a motion to approve those.
I make motion to approve.
Ooh, that was quick.
Second.
Very nice. Questions, comments? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Congratulations.
Okay, we have a few.
Thanks,
Mrs. Keener. Okay, I put it together. So we'll go in the order that's here. Mrs. Wise, you have anything you'd like to?
You know, sitting here, I've had plenty of other things. Sorry about that.
Sorry. You don't want the job.
I was hired 20 years ago to teach it. I have been here for 5 superintendents, 3 principals, and only 1 assistant principal in that amount of time. Chris has done 23 and a half years. I don't think I'm just 23 and a half years old at this point, but I am heavily invested in the school district and in the students here. All my family moves into the district so that we can be here and be present. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Donnelly. Welcome aboard. She's been with us, but as an IU employee, this was a way to reduce some of the IU costs and bringing her on as a speech therapist from Blast.
I've been, last employee has been, about 2006, but in district 2016. And we're actually at, more and more kids might be my full month cycle piece. So I'm really excited to be official political employee, and I'm very excited. So thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Phelps is not here. She's been at a previous meeting. Mr. Weaver. I'm glad this is happening personally this year and not last. So.
Yeah, so, this is, Craig Weaver, this is my 18th year over at Loyal Sock, so, feels good to come across the bridge back to where I went to school. My wife is here, my kids are here, so definitely invested. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to come back. And what you guys were talking about earlier is, wanting the kids to come back to brick and mortar, and hopefully we can help with that and make the kids want to be here. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mrs. Keener.
I played after last because I can kind of echo what we've already said. My news, I'm very familiar. Spent 10 years teaching in Williamsburg, but I also went to school here. I have my kids here. I'm invested in every other way in this community, so I'm very excited for the opportunity to take the steps professionally and kind of do all in. So thank you. I'm very excited.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard. And
Want me to get the confirmation?
yeah,
before we move on?
Mr. Gardner, Mr. Albert, can we have clarification on how you voted on 3-1 through 3-4?
Voted yes. Mr. Gardner.
Gardner was a yes.
Yes.
Mr. Albert was a yes. On item 4-1. Mr. Gardner
Yes.
and Mr. Albert.
Yes.
All right, sorry to single you out, but it's hard to hear the vote over the speaker when everyone's going. Thank you.
All right, for the remainder of the personnel section, 4.2 through 4.3, I'd like to combine those as well. And when you are ready, I'll take a motion to approve. Motion to approve.
Second.
Questions?
You just sort of combined the fours, right? Or did we?
We did,
2 and 4.
yeah, we did
Okay,
4
yeah,
one
all right,
step.
I'm good. All right.
All right, all in favor of those, say aye.
I,
Aye. Mr. Gardner, Mr. Albert,
Yes.
Yes.
all right, all opposed? All right, excellent. Hearing none, moving to policies, 5.1, approval of the following second and final readings of policies 309.1, 337, and the policy on therapy dogs. I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second. Questions?
I did have. Sorry. No, listen, it was something that Mr. Snell brought up, that I did have a question on the therapy dogs, and that was in regards to insurance, where I understand that insurance will cover, obviously, owner and dog. The question is, do we have liability insurance to deal with therapy dogs on campus?
we don't have separate insurance, no.
Okay, do we, so what
It is
would,
covered
so,
in our insurance. I can get that in writing.
is
for
it,
you.
that's why I wanted to make sure, is it covered in our insurance that if we would have a dog on campus and that,
It's covering the general.
okay, that was the one thing. I
But we
just-
don't have a separate policy for it.
Because we,
Would we?
service
need-
animals, which is a different thing.
Right.
Is a policy in the district, so if a kid would have a service animal,
Right,
we'd be covered. It's really no.
okay,
different.
okay, I just wanted to make sure, because you raised it, and then I was just like, because I saw the insurance and that, I understood that, but then that thought went through my head too, and I was just like, oh, are we covered if it would be, an incident would happen? I mean, hopefully this, we don't have to deal with this, but just in case, I was wanting to double check. All right, that was my
So
question.
my question is, this is just follow up with the email that I had sent. So there's 2 animals per building. The one that is currently with Brandy in the district office, does that count as one of the dogs for the high school?
Yeah, and I added that as, I think it was number
Yeah, you did.
14.
Okay,
And
and
Where-
it
where
could
it
be my fault
defined-
that I don't know that, but
where it defined district office as part of the high school campus.
great, that was my question.
These are just another tool, for us to use to help kids.
Yeah.
Not meant to be controversial or.
Yeah,
No,
no,
I
I
just
think that
wanted to
they're
make
good.
sure
I
of the
just think that
insurance.
there's a limit and that the
Yep.
amount of time spent on them by people in the administrative office should be limited as well. I feel strongly about that.
I think you should turn them into team mascots.
I'm not changing words,
All
for the record.
right, all in favor of 5.1, say aye. Aye.
Bye.
Mr. Albert, Mr. Gardner?
Aye.
Yes.
All right, all opposed? Very well, 5.1 is good. 5.2, approval of the following first reading for 801 public records. Take a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Comments?
The only thing that is addressing for the public's knowledge is we've had an uptick in anonymous requests. And it is language on how we will deal with those anonymous requests, which is not filling in.
All right, any other comments, questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All, whoops, sorry, Mr. Heller, Mr. Gardner.
Aye.
All right, all opposed?
I know,
That was a good
it's
one.
like they're getting the hang of it. I know.
Yep, the last one. Nice work, team. All right, moving on to section 6, discussion of future action items. Were there any?
I had none, unless you do. I think budget was the focus. And we're gonna have some future action items with SiteLogic's presentation. I'm certain.
Okay, if there's nothing else, then we'll move to the final public comment section of the evening, again, for residents and taxpayers comment on their concerns of official action or deliberation before the board.
Hey, if it
Hey, Ron.
if it's possible, could you put the slide up there with some, increases over the 10-year period? Okay. The only thing what I want to say is there was only 1 year of those zero tax increases where when the end of that school year, when all the bills were in, to be paid and everything, where there was a deficit. And it was only $30,000. Every year, a budget is brought to the board, and the recommendation is for tax increases. Even though those years that there wasn't a tax increase, except one, there was no deficit at the end of those years that the taxes didn't get raised. The other thing is, there's a person that's on the board that likes to bring up, he's been on the board 6.5 years, and the can was kicked down the road, and there should have been tax increases, and he wanted tax increases. Ask him how he voted on the budget. Because he voted to approve every budget in those years that he was on the board. And the last 4 years, somebody keeps saying that there's 3 years that there wasn't a tax increase. If you look at those last 4 years, there's only 2 years there wasn't a tax increase. In fact, there was only 2 years in 10 years that there wasn't a tax increase. Where there wasn't a tax increase was the 21-22 school year and the 23-24 school year. That's the only 2 years where there wasn't a tax increase there. So I don't know if somebody was mistaken when they.
It was me looking at math, so
Well, you're not the only one.
and I was just sitting here doing it and I'm cutting into his 3 minutes, so I'll let you finish and then I'll.
But like I said, there was only 1 year, and that was last year, I believe, where at the end, when all the numbers were in, that there was a deficit where money had to be used out of the fund balance. And that was $30,000. It came in better than expected. But every year, there has been a push for a tax increase. Every single year when a budget's brought to the board. That's all I got. So I'm one of those people that stuck around. That's what I always do with meetings. I do walk on. So, one thing
thing I want to bring up is, comment that was made about, not about the homeowners. That was just made by a board member tonight. It is about the homeowners. They're paying the bills. And each one of us here have to live within our means. In my job, I stress that every day, we have to live within our means. There's things we like to have. There's lots of things I like to do for the town. But we have to live within our means. We have to teach that to our kids. We have to live within our means. I look up the millage up there. And another thing I don't like to see happen is compare yourself to the Joneses. My parents told me, never compare yourself to the Joneses. Never compare yourself to your neighbors. Okay, do the best you can do for what you have. And do it the right way. We have a beautiful district. We have great people. A lot better than yours too. I have a son who went to Liberty. I have a son who went to Lycoming. I have a daughter who's at Penn State. And I have a granddaughter who will start seeing her in this district next year. And I have a lot of investment as a business owner and a homeowner. But what I'm most concerned about is the people that are on a situation where they can't afford the bills. So I ask you to go back and look at what you can do. And try to bring that millage increase down. I understand the situation you're facing. You're in the hole. I get that. So bring that millage down. Hopefully things will get better in the future, because I look at it, that's why I didn't go for the reassessment, because of what people are experiencing right now. And whether it's a right or wrong decision, that's what I'm living with. And the bottom line is, you have to do the same thing, and I thank you each one of you for your service. It's tough. It's a tough decision. And a lot of people don't have the backbone to do anything, and I appreciate that. Please go back and see what you can do to bring that millage down, because we understand we have schools that have to be refurbished and all that. But at the same time, we have to live within our means, and we have to do what's right by our taxpayers. The kids are gonna have what they have. We have a fantastic school system. So the kids aren't gonna suffer. They won't, because they have a lot of, a lot of things to be proud of. Thank you.
Mr. Badger, do I have any time left on my 3 minutes?
No, sir, you did not. I gave you an extra 10 because Sharon cut you off.
You were over and we'll deduct it from.
10 seconds. Yeah. Give it an extra 10 seconds.
You were over and we'll deduct it from the next meeting.
Yeah, right. You're out, you're done for the year.
10 minutes.
You're out for the year.
Listen, that's why I decided on this side, because then I can talk as much as I want to.
Sure, real quick, story, take about 15 seconds.
Okay, we have 3 minutes.
About 10 seconds, for 10 years ago, I sat in a meeting back here. No, it wasn't back here. Yeah, it was in this room. It was actually in this room. And, different board, and it had to do with the ball field, the Lily field. And they wanted to take away the T-ball field. They're going to completely eliminate it because they're going to span the parking lot over, and they're going to do something completely different. I sat here for 3 hours, and I convinced the board that night, we need to work with the league. And they compromised. They said, okay, listen, if we can shrink the field down to a certain size, can you still use it? And that'll still take care of our parking. The board worked with the league. Do the same thing here. Work with the public to try to come to a solution so it's not so burdensome on the public, especially this year. Thank you.
No, we don't have any more time. So your time, yeah, we have no, we're 2 minutes till we hit our 2-hour mark, so I can't, and I gotta see if anybody online wants to make a comment. So any folks online, if you want to make a comment, raise your hand. All right, seeing none, we'll move to adjournment. We'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, see you next time, folks.
Okay.
Mike's still on.
I don't have to listen though, la, 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 la.
But remember, I don't understand why there was this